What are you doing to my daughter?" David Ramirez stood frozen in the doorway, staring at something he couldn't understand. His daughter, the child who cried every night from pain, was sitting in a bathtub filled with glowing blue water, laughing, and the maid was standing over her. The woman turned slowly, calm, like she'd been waiting for this moment. "Saving her life," she said. The glass bottle slipped from David's hand and shattered. He moved without thinking, rage, fear, shock, his body crashing into hers. She stumbled backward, blood appearing on her hand. "Daddy, stop!" His daughter's scream cut through everything. "She makes it stop hurting." David froze. "Get out of my house," he said, voice shaking. "Now." The woman looked at him with something that wasn't fear. It was something worse. Pity. "Your wife asked me to come," she said quietly, "before she died." Then she walked out, and David stood there, alone, watching blue water disappear down the drain while his daughter sobbed for the woman who was already gone. That night, his daughter wouldn't eat, wouldn't sleep, just waited by the window. 3 days later, David found an old photograph buried in his late wife's things. His wife, younger, smiling, standing beside the woman he'd just fired. They'd known each other, and he'd had no idea. Before we continue, hit like, subscribe, and tell me where you're watching from, because sometimes God sends help in ways we'd never expect. Stay with me. 20 minutes later, Mrs. Chen knocked on the study door. "Sir, the woman you fired," she collapsed outside. David was moving before he could think. Faith was on the pavement, barely conscious, her skin the color of ash. He knelt beside her, the anger from earlier completely gone. "Call Dr. Hayes," he told Mrs. Chen, "now." The doctor arrived fast. He checked Faith's pulse, looked into her eyes, and his face went still. He pulled David aside. "Mr. Ramirez, this woman is in organ failure, stage 4. I'd give her 4 months, maybe 6. David's stomach dropped. "What?" "She's dying." Faith's eyes opened. She tried to sit up, pushing away help. "I'm fine. Just let me leave." "You're not leaving," David said, voice rough. He crouched in front of her. "Tell me why you came here. If you're dying, why do this?" Faith stared at him for a long moment. Then her face crumpled, and she said the words that shattered everything. "Because your wife told me Olivia is my daughter." David went cold. "What?" "I donated eggs when I was 23, Faith whispered, tears streaming. "I didn't know where they went. Catherine found the records before she died. She sent me an email begging me to save our child." David couldn't breathe. "You're lying." Faith reached into her jacket with shaking hands and pulled out a folded paper. "Read it." David opened it. It was an email from Catherine, dated 3 days before her death. "Faith, the donor egg was yours. I found the records. Olivia is our daughter. She has the condition. Save her before it's too late. I'm so sorry I wasn't there when Naomi died. Don't let Olivia die too." The paper slipped from David's fingers. "Who's Naomi?" he asked, barely able to speak. Faith closed her eyes, and when she answered, her voice broke in a way that made his chest ache. "My daughter. She was 4. David stared at her. "Was?" Faith nodded, tears falling silently. And David realized this woman hadn't just lost a child, she'd buried one. Dr. Hayes helped Faith to her feet. "She needs rest, and she shouldn't be alone." David looked at the woman standing in front of him, dying, grieving, desperate. "The guest house," he said quietly. "Stay there until we figure this out." Faith looked at him surprised. "Why would you let me stay after what I did?" David didn't have an answer. Not yet. But upstairs, his daughter was still crying. And this woman, whoever she really was the only person Olivia wanted. That night, David sat alone in his study, staring at Catherine's email, reading it over and over. One line kept hitting him like a fist to the chest. "I'm so sorry I wasn't there when Naomi died. What had happened to Faith's daughter? And why had his wife never told him any of this?" David couldn't sleep. He sat in Catherine's old office, the one he'd locked after she died, and never opened again. Boxes lined the walls, covered in dust, her things, her life before him. He didn't know what he was looking for, just that he needed answers. The first box had nothing but old textbooks, nursing school stuff, Seattle University, 2014. The second box had journals. Catherine's handwriting filled every page, research notes, treatment ideas, sketches of molecular structures. She'd been obsessed with something, healing, natural protocols, minerals. Then he found the folder. It was labeled Faith in Catherine's handwriting. David's hands shook as he opened it. Inside was a printout of an egg donation contract, dated February 2017. Faith Abraham, payment $8,000. Beneath it, a newspaper clipping, small, barely noticeable. Local woman loses daughter to rare. Autoimmune disorder. The article was short. A single mother, Faith Abraham, 23, had lost her 4-year-old daughter Naomi to organ failure. The child had been sick for 2 years. The mother had done everything she could. It wasn't enough. David stared at the date, June 2017. 4 months after Faith donated her eggs, she'd sold her eggs trying to save her daughter. And her daughter died anyway. He kept digging, hands moving faster now, heart pounding. Then he found the photo. It was small, tucked between the pages of Catherine's journal. A young woman, Faith, but younger, thinner, exhausted, holding a little girl with curly hair and bright eyes. The child looked exactly like Olivia. David's breath caught. On the back, in faded ink, Naomi, age 3. The bravest girl I ever knew. He sat there, staring at that photo, and something inside him cracked wide open. Faith hadn't just lost a daughter. She'd watched her die, slowly, painfully, while trying everything to save her. And now she was dying too. But she'd come here anyway, for Olivia. David found one more thing at the bottom of the box, an email draft, never sent, dated 2 weeks before Catherine's death. David, if you're reading this, I'm already gone. I need you to know the truth. Faith Abraham was my best friend in nursing school. We both got sick. We found a way to heal naturally. But I left her behind when I met you. I got better. She couldn't afford to. Her daughter died because she was poor. I'm dying because I was proud. The egg we used for Olivia, it was Faith's. I found out 6 months ago. I tried to tell you, but you were always gone. Faith doesn't know yet, but she will. And when she does, please don't push her away. She's the only one who knows how to save Olivia. I failed both of them. Don't make the same mistake I did. The letter ended there, unfinished, unsent. David sat in the darkness surrounded by his dead wife's secrets, holding a photo of a child who died 7 years ago but still looked alive in Olivia's face. And he realized he didn't know his wife at all. He didn't know what she'd been through, what she'd lost, what she'd been trying to fix before she ran out of time. But Faith knew. Faith had been there. David stood, grabbed the folder, and walked out into the night. The guest house was dark except for one small light in the window. He knocked. Faith opened the door slowly, her hand still bandaged, her face exhausted. "Tell me everything," David said, voice raw. "From the beginning." Faith sat at the small table in the guest house, her hands wrapped around a cup of tea she hadn't touched. David sat across from her, the folder between them. "Catherine and I met the first week of nursing school," Faith began, voice quiet. "We were assigned as roommates, different worlds. She came from money. I was barely scraping by, raising my daughter alone." She paused, staring at nothing. "We both got diagnosed the same month, same autoimmune disease. Doctors said the same thing to both of us. Take the meds, manage the pain, hope for the best." "But Catherine didn't accept it," David said. Faith shook her head. "She became obsessed with finding another way. Natural treatments, minerals, ancient remedies. I thought she was crazy at first, but then it started working. Our skin cleared. The pain stopped. We were healing." Her voice broke. But the treatments were expensive. Supplements, special salts. I couldn't keep up. I had Naomi, bills, rent. I kept running out, stopping, starting again when I could afford it. David saw it now, the whole terrible picture. Your daughter got sicker. Faith nodded, tears falling. I tried everything, sold everything I had. Then I saw an ad for egg donation. $8,000. It felt like God answering a prayer. She laughed bitterly. I thought I could save her. But you couldn't. No, Faith's voice was barely a whisper. She died 4 months later. Organs just gave up. I held her while she took her last breath, and all I could think was, I failed. I sold pieces of my future to save hers, and I still failed. David's chest ached. Catherine didn't know. She'd already moved to California, met you, started her new life. We lost touch. Faith wiped her face. I didn't blame her. She deserved to be happy. But she found you again. Faith pulled out her phone, opened an email, and slid it across the table. David read Catherine's words again, but this time they hit different. The egg we used was yours. Olivia is our daughter. She reached out 3 days before she died, Faith said, told me everything, that she'd gotten sick again, that she'd stopped the treatments because your doctor said they were dangerous, that Olivia was showing symptoms. Faith's voice hardened. And she told me something else, something about your company. David looked up sharply. What? Faith met his eyes. That your pharmaceutical division stole her research. The treatments we created together, your company turned them into drugs and patented them. David's blood went cold. That's not possible. She sent me proof, Faith said quietly. Patents filed in 2016. Her original research notes from 2014. They're identical. She pulled out another folder, thicker, full of documents. Your company built its flagship drug on your wife's stolen work, and when she found out and threatened to go public, Faith's voice cracked. That's when they started increasing her medication. David stared at the papers, his hands shaking. Who knew about this? Faith's answer made his stomach turn. Her parents, the Pembertons. Before David could respond, his phone rang. Unknown number. He answered. A cold, familiar voice spoke. David, this is Robert Pemberton. We need to talk about our granddaughter. We're filing for emergency custody. You'll be served papers in the morning. The line went dead. David looked at Faith, heart pounding. They know you're here. David didn't sleep that night. He sat in his study, going through every document Faith had given him. Catherine's research notes, patent filings, financial records showing the Pembertons as majority shareholders in his pharmaceutical division since 2016, before he even met Catherine. His phone buzzed at 6 a.m., a message from his attorney. Papers were just served. Custody hearing scheduled in 5 days. They're claiming child endangerment. Call me. David's jaw clenched. A soft knock came at the door. Faith stood there, pale but steady. I heard your phone, she said. It's starting, isn't it? They're coming for Olivia. Faith stepped inside, closing the door behind her. Then we fight back. With what? David's voice was raw. They have lawyers, money, and they're her grandparents. He stopped himself. Dying? Faith finished. A stranger with no legal rights? A woman who lied on her job application? She sat down across from him. I know what I am, but I also know what they are. David looked at her, really looked at her, dark circles under her eyes, hands trembling slightly, but her voice was steel. Catherine sent me more than just emails, Faith said quietly. She sent me her medical records, the real ones, before they were changed. David went still. Changed? Faith pulled out another document. Your wife's original death certificate, cause of death, acute pharmaceutical toxicity, adverse reaction to immunosuppressants manufactured by Ramirez Pharmaceuticals. His hands shook as he took the paper. This was amended 48 hours later, Faith continued. New cause of death, autoimmune disease progression, natural causes. She pointed to the signature at the bottom, signed by Dr. Gerald Hoffman, your chief medical officer. David felt sick. They killed her, he whispered. My own company. Your in-laws' company, Faith corrected. They owned 51%. They controlled the medical decisions. And when Catherine threatened to expose the stolen research, she didn't finish. She didn't have to. David stood, pacing, trying to breathe. Why? His voice cracked. Why would they kill their own daughter? Faith opened another file. This one was financial. Catherine's trust fund, $47 million. If she died before age 40 from natural causes related to her pre-existing condition, the Pembertons control everything until Olivia turns 25. David's stomach dropped. But if she died from medical malpractice, it all goes to you and Olivia immediately, Faith finished. They needed her death to look natural. They needed the medications to seem like they were helping, not killing. David sank into his chair, the weight of it crushing him. His wife, the woman he loved, murdered for money by her own parents. There's more, Faith said, voice barely above a whisper. David looked up, not sure he could handle more. Faith's hands were shaking now. The fertility clinic you used, the one that matched my donated eggs with Catherine's IVF. What about it? It's partially owned by Pemberton Industries. The room tilted. They chose my eggs on purpose, Faith said, tears streaming. They knew I had the disease. They knew if Olivia inherited it from me, she'd get sick too. David couldn't breathe. They wanted Olivia to be sick? Faith nodded, breaking. Sick enough to need treatment, profitable treatment, for the next 20 years while they controlled her trust fund. David's vision blurred with rage. My daughter was designed to suffer. Neither of them spoke for a long moment. Then Faith's phone buzzed. She looked at the screen and her face went white. What is it? She turned the phone toward him. A text from an unknown number. Stop digging or the child loses both of you. David called Thomas immediately. I need security on the property. Now. Keep Olivia inside. No one gets near her. He hung up and looked at Faith. You're not going anywhere alone, a small voice came from the doorway. Daddy? Olivia stood there in her pajamas, eyes scared. Hey, baby, David said, forcing calm. What are you doing up? I heard you talking loud. Are the mean people coming? Faith knelt down, opening her arms. Olivia ran to her, burying her face in Faith's shoulder. Nobody's going to hurt you, Faith whispered. I promise. David watched them, mother and daughter, connected by something deeper than either of them understood. Can I stay with you tonight? Olivia asked Faith. Faith looked at David. He nodded. She carried Olivia to the guest house. Within minutes, the child was asleep. David sat across from the bed, watching. She looks just like my Naomi when she slept, Faith whispered, tears falling. Same little breathing, same way her hand curls. Tell me about her, David said quietly. Faith smiled through tears. She loved butterflies, used to chase them for hours, never caught one, but never stopped trying. Her voice broke. When she was dying, she told me, Mama, don't be sad. I'm just going to see the butterflies that already flew away. David's throat closed. They sat in silence, both carrying grief too heavy for words. Then Faith's phone lit up. David grabbed it. His blood went cold. A photo of Olivia playing in the garden today, taken from outside the estate walls. Someone had been watching. The message below made his hands shake. Custody hearing in 5 days. Send the woman away, or we'll make sure neither of you ever sees the child again. Faith saw his face and grabbed the phone. Her gasp said everything. They're not bluffing, she whispered. David looked at Olivia, sleeping peacefully for the first time in weeks. Then at Faith, dying, desperate, the only person who'd ever truly fought for his daughter. I'm not sending you away, he said. David, if they take her, then we go public. All of it. The research, the death certificate, everything. Faith's eyes widened. That'll destroy your company. I don't care, she stared at him. You mean that? Every word. Faith stood, exhausted but steady. Then we need someone who can't be bought. Judge Evelyn Hartfield. David went pale. She hates me. She hates corruption more. David looked at Olivia again. so small, so unaware her whole life was a lie. "Okay," he said. "We do it your way." As he walked to the door, Faith stopped him. "David, thank you for believing me." He turned back. "You're her mother," he said quietly. "I should have seen it from the beginning." Faith's eyes filled with tears. But as David walked back to the main house, his phone buzzed again. One final message, a video this time. He opened it. Olivia, in the garden, playing, and a voice, cold, familiar. Robert Pemberton. "Tick-tock, David. 4 days left." The next morning, David sat in his office with Faith, surrounded by documents they'd been reviewing since dawn. His head of security had traced the video. It came from a burner phone, untraceable, but they had something better. Faith opened her laptop. "Catherine sent me one more file. I didn't want to show you until I was sure, but..." She hesitated. "You need to see this." She turned the screen toward him. Financial records, research files, patent applications, David's flagship drug, ImmunoShield, the medication that built his empire, annual revenue, $380 million, and beside it, Catherine's handwritten research notes from 2014. The formulas were identical. "No," David whispered, "that's not possible." "Your company reverse-engineered her natural protocol," Faith said quietly. "Turned it into a synthetic drug, patented it." David's hands shook. "I didn't know. I swear to God I didn't know." "I believe you," Faith said, "but look at the timeline." She pulled up another document. The patents were filed in March 2016. David didn't meet Catherine until November 2016. "The Pembertons gave your research team access to her work before you even knew she existed," Faith said. "They told you it was independent research they'd funded." David felt sick. His entire company, everything he'd built, was stolen from the woman he'd later marry. "She found out last year," Faith continued, "threatened to go public. That's when they started increasing her medication doses." David stood, knocking his chair backward. "They murdered her over money." "Over control," Faith corrected. "The trust fund, the company, all of it." David's phone rang. His attorney. "David, we have a problem. The Pembertons just filed an emergency motion. They're claiming you're emotionally unstable. They want Olivia removed from your custody immediately. Hearing's been moved up to tomorrow." David's blood ran cold. "Tomorrow? That's not legal. Judge approved it. I'm sorry. They have evidence of questionable decisions, hiring unvetted staff, allowing medical treatment without credentials." David looked at Faith. She closed her eyes. "We're out of time," she whispered. David hung up and dialed another number. "Who are you calling?" Faith asked. "Someone who owes me a favor." The line connected. "This is Channel 7 News." Faith's eyes went wide. "This is David Ramirez," he said, voice steady despite his shaking hands. "I'm the CEO of Ramirez Pharmaceuticals, and I need to schedule a live interview today." "What's this regarding?" David looked at Faith, at the documents, at everything he was about to destroy. "The truth about how my wife died," the reporter's voice sharpened. "We can have a crew there in 2 hours." David hung up. Faith stared at him. "David, if you do this, I lose everything. I know. Your company, your reputation. They could press criminal charges." "I don't care." Faith's voice broke. "Why?" David looked at her, really looked at her. This woman who'd lost everything, who was dying, who came anyway. "Because you're right," he said quietly. "Some things matter more than money." Faith's eyes filled with tears, but before either of them could speak, Thomas burst through the door. His face was white. "Sir, you need to come now." "What happened?" Thomas's voice shook. "It's Miss Olivia. She's gone." David's world stopped. "What do you mean, gone?" "She was in the garden 5 minutes ago. I turned my back for 30 seconds. When I looked again..." Thomas's voice cracked. "She's not on the property. We've searched everywhere." Faith grabbed David's arm. "The Pembertons." David's phone buzzed. One message. "Told you to make the right choice. Now you'll never see her again." The police arrived within minutes. David sat in his study, staring at nothing, while officers searched the estate. Faith stood by the window, arms wrapped around herself, silent. Detective Warren, a woman in her 40s with tired eyes, sat across from David. "Mr. Ramirez, we need to know everything. Any threats? Custody disputes? Anyone who'd want to take your daughter?" David's voice came out hollow. "Her grandparents, Robert and Diane Pemberton, they're trying to get custody. They sent threats, messages." He showed her his phone. Detective Warren's jaw tightened. "We'll bring them in for questioning immediately." But David already knew. The Pembertons were too smart, too connected. They'd have alibis, lawyers, everything covered. After the detective left, the house fell silent. David sat on the floor of Olivia's room, holding the yellow blanket she'd slept with the night before. It still smelled like her. Lavender soap and innocence. Faith found him there an hour later. She didn't say anything, just sat beside him. "I failed her," David whispered, "just like I failed Catherine." "No, I was never there," he continued, voice breaking. "Too busy building an empire on stolen dreams, too proud to see what was right in front of me. Catherine tried to tell me. She tried to warn me, and I didn't listen." Faith took his hand. "I buried one daughter already," she said quietly. "I can't bury another, and neither can you. So we don't give up, not yet." David looked at her. "What if it's too late? Then we make sure it wasn't for nothing." She stood, pulling him up with her. "Come on, there's something I need to show you." Back in the guest house, Faith opened her laptop and pulled up an email thread. "Catherine sent me more than just research files," she said. "She sent me access to a private server, medical records, financial transactions, everything the Pembertons tried to hide." She clicked through folders David had never seen. "She knew they were going to kill her," Faith continued, "so she documented everything, every meeting, every medical decision, every time they pressured her to increase medication." David stared at the screen. Audio files, dozens of them. Faith clicked one. Catherine's voice filled the room, weak, scared, but clear. "Robert came by again today, said I was being paranoid, that the new medication would help. But I saw the dosage. It's triple what Dr. Hayes recommended. They're trying to kill me, and they're using David's company to do it." David's chest cracked open. "She knew," he whispered. Faith nodded. "And she made sure we'd have proof." She scrolled further, then stopped. "Wait." She clicked on a file labeled Emergency Contact, Final Instructions. It was a video, dated 3 days before Catherine died. Faith pressed play. Catherine appeared on screen, thin, exhausted, but her eyes were clear. "David, if you're watching this, I'm already gone. And if Faith is with you, then she's doing what I asked, protecting Olivia." She paused, catching her breath. "My parents will come for her. They'll use the courts, the money, everything. But there's something they don't know." Catherine leaned closer to the camera. "I changed my will 6 months ago, a secret trust. If anything happens to me under suspicious circumstances, everything, the research, the rights, the original formulas, goes to Faith Abraham, not my parents, not even you, David. Faith." David's mind reeled. She's Olivia's real mother, and she's the only one who knows how to save her, trust her, even when it's hard, especially when it's hard. Catherine's voice broke. "And Faith, if you're hearing this, I'm so sorry about Naomi, about everything. I should have been there, but please, don't let my daughter die the way yours did. You're the only one who can stop them." The video ended. Faith was crying silently. David stared at the blank screen. Then his phone rang. Unknown number. He answered, hands shaking. A child's voice. Small. Scared. "Daddy?" "Olivia!" David's heart exploded. "Baby, where are you? Are you okay?" "I'm scared. Grandma and Grandpa took me. They said you didn't want me anymore." "That's not true, sweetheart. I'm coming." Robert Pemberton's voice cut in, cold and sharp. "You have 12 hours, David. Drop the custody fight. Fire the woman. Sign over medical decisions to us, or you'll never see your daughter again." The line went dead. David looked at Faith, terror and rage warring in his chest. "We can't wait for the police," he said. Faith's jaw set. "Then we don't." Faith grabbed her phone and made a call. "Who are you calling?" David asked. "Someone who can help." The line connected, a man's voice, deep and cautious. "Faith? It's been 7 years." "Marcus, I need you," she said. "It's urgent." Marcus Chen arrived 30 minutes later, a forensic accountant who'd helped Faith during Naomi's medical bills crisis. He owed her nothing, but he came anyway. "Show me everything," he said. Faith laid out the files, the trust fund, the pharmaceutical patents, the altered death certificate, the egg donation records. Marcus worked in silence, eyes scanning documents with the precision of someone who'd spent years uncovering hidden money trails. After an hour, he looked up. "This is bigger than custody," he said quietly. "This is organized fraud, medical malpractice, conspiracy." "Can you prove it?" David asked. Marcus nodded slowly. "If I had access to the Pembertons' private accounts, yes. But that requires a court order, and we don't have time." "I have access," Faith interrupted. Both men stared at her. "Catherine gave me her mother's password 6 months before she died. She'd been watching them, tracking their transactions." Marcus's eyes widened. "That's illegal without—" "I don't care about legal right now," David said. "I care about my daughter." Faith opened her laptop and logged into an offshore account. What they found made them all go silent. Payments, dozens of them, to Dr. Hoffman, to the fertility clinic, to the judge who'd moved up the custody hearing, and one transaction that made David's blood boil. $50,000, paid yesterday to a private security firm. Marcus clicked on the attachment, a contract, for child extraction and relocation services. They'd planned this weeks ago. "Where would they take her?" David asked, voice shaking. Marcus scrolled through the files. "There, a private medical facility, upstate, 2 hours from here." Faith stood. "Then we go now." "We should call the police," Marcus said. "No time," Faith replied, "and the Pembertons have people everywhere. We do this ourselves." David looked at her, this dying woman who'd lost everything and kept fighting anyway. "You don't have to come," he said. "You're sick. This is dangerous." "That's my daughter," Faith said, voice like iron. "I'm coming." They took David's car. Marcus drove. Faith pulled up a GPS route. David sat in the back staring at Catherine's video on his phone, watching his dead wife tell him to trust the woman she'd trusted most. "Faith," he said quietly, "why didn't Catherine tell me about you, about any of this?" Faith's voice was sad. "Because she knew you wouldn't believe her. You trusted your company, your doctors, your in-laws." She paused. "And she was running out of time to make you see the truth." David's throat closed. "I failed her." "No," Faith said, turning to look at him. "You loved her. That's not the same as failing. She knew that. That's why she left me the video. She was giving you a second chance." "At what?" Faith's eyes filled with tears. "At choosing what matters most." The facility appeared in the distance. Tall gates, security cameras, a place designed to keep people out or keep them in. Marcus parked a block away. "There's no way we're getting through the front," he said. Faith pulled out her phone and dialed. "Who are you calling now?" David asked. "Judge Hartfield." David's eyes widened. "She'll never—" "Judge Hartfield," the voice on the other end said, sharp and professional. "Your Honor, this is Faith Abraham. We met once years ago when I testified in a malpractice case. I need your help. A child's life is at stake." Silence. Then, "I'm listening." Faith explained everything, fast, clear, no emotion, just facts. When she finished, the judge's voice was cold as steel. "Where's the child now?" Faith gave the address. "I'm issuing an emergency order," Judge Hartfield said. "Police will be there in 15 minutes. Do not, I repeat, do not enter that building yourselves. Wait for law enforcement." She hung up. David looked at Faith. "We're not waiting, are we?" Faith's expression was resolute. "Would you?" Marcus sighed. "God help us all." They moved toward the building, but as they reached the side entrance, David's phone buzzed. A message from inside. "Daddy, please hurry. They're saying I have to take medicine that'll make me sleep for a long time." David's heart stopped. "They're sedating her," he whispered. Faith's face went white. They didn't have 15 minutes. They had seconds. They didn't wait. David kicked open the side door. Faith ran behind him, Marcus following. Inside, the hallway was sterile and cold. White walls, locked doors. They heard her before they saw her. "No, I don't want it. I want my daddy." David's heart shattered. He followed Olivia's voice to the room at the end of the hall. Through the window, he saw her, sitting on a medical table, crying, while a nurse prepared a syringe. Diane Pemberton stood in the corner, arms crossed, cold, unmoved. David slammed the door open. "Get away from my daughter." The nurse froze. Diane turned, face tight with fury. "You have no right to be here," Diane hissed. "Neither do you." Olivia saw him and screamed, "Daddy!" She jumped off the table and ran. David caught her, holding her so tight he thought his chest would break. "I've got you, baby," he whispered. "I've got you." Faith stepped into the room, eyes locked on Diane. "It's over," Faith said quietly. "You have no idea what you've done," Diane spat. "You've destroyed this family." "You destroyed your own daughter," Faith interrupted, voice steady as stone. "For money, you killed Catherine, and you tried to kill Olivia too." Sirens echoed outside. Diane's face went pale. The police arrived with Judge Hartfield herself, stern, unshakable, and furious. "Diane Pemberton, you're under arrest for kidnapping, conspiracy, and medical fraud," the judge said. "Take her." Diane was led out in handcuffs, still screaming about rights and lawyers. But David didn't hear any of it. He was on his knees, holding Olivia, Faith beside them, her hand on the child's back. "You came," Olivia whispered, looking between them. "Both of you." "Always," David said, voice breaking. Faith kissed Olivia's forehead. "We'll always come for you." 6 months later. The estate was quieter now, smaller. David had sold most of it, dissolved the pharmaceutical division, and poured everything into the Catherine and Naomi Moore Research Foundation. The Pembertons were in prison. Dr. Hoffman lost his medical license, and Olivia's health was better than it had been in years. Faith sat in the garden, teaching Olivia how to mix the blue water salts in a small glass bowl. "Why is it blue, Mama Faith?" Olivia asked. Faith smiled. "Your first mama, Catherine, said blue was the color of a hope, like the sky, like God reminding us he's still watching." Olivia dipped her fingers in the water, giggling as the minerals sparkled. David walked out carrying a tray with lemonade. "Room for one more?" he asked. Olivia grinned. "Always, Daddy." He sat beside them, and for the first time in years, the air felt light. "You know what I learned?" David said quietly, looking at Faith. "What?" "That God doesn't always give us what we want, but he gives us what we need." He paused. "I needed you. Olivia needed you. And somehow, Catherine knew." Faith's eyes filled with tears. She knew we'd all save each other. Olivia looked up at both of them. "Are we a family now?" David and Faith answered together. "Yes." Olivia smiled and went back to her blue water, humming softly. Above them, a butterfly landed on the edge of the bowl. It sat there for a moment, delicate, beautiful, fleeting, then flew away. Faith watched it go, tears streaming. "Naomi," she whispered. David took her hand. And in that garden, under the open sky, 3 people who'd lost everything found something they didn't know they were looking for. Each other. Not because life was easy, but because God doesn't waste pain. He turns it into purpose, and sometimes the family you need isn't the one you were born into. It's the one that shows up when everything falls apart.